Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with fast-moving developments in Los Angeles. President Trump deploying 2,000 National Guard members after violence and chaos erupts during immigration protests outside a federal building just moments ago. Police declared it an unlawful assembly. Those troops descending on the streets of L.A. Governor Gavin Newsom is blasting the move, calling it, quote, purposefully inflammatory and an alarming abuse of power. Nearly a dozen arrests overnight as some protesters tossed objects at officers, police using tear gas and flashbang grenades to disperse the crowd. Today, protesters were back out on the streets for the third consecutive day, some marching in downtown L.A. And police and protesters also squaring off here in New York City. Tonight, the Trump administration says California officials could face federal charges over their response. ABC's Matt Gutman is in Los Angeles and leads us off.
Tonight, hundreds of National Guard troops are deployed on the streets of Los Angeles. A convoy of heavily armed and camouflaged troops arriving overnight, establishing staging areas at downtown federal facilities. President Trump calling up 2,000 members of the National Guard in an effort to stamp out clashes that broke out over the weekend between law enforcement and demonstrators protesting ICE deportations. Tensions boiling over after immigration authorities conducted a series of sweeps in recent days, arresting more than 100 immigrants in Los Angeles over the course of last week. Dozens of demonstrators arrested since the clashes broke out Friday. Officers in riot gear using tear gas and flashbangs to disperse protesters, some of whom hurled projectiles. And in an extraordinary scene Saturday afternoon, a Black Hawk helicopter landing in the parking lot of a Homeland Security office. Agents unloading supplies for law enforcement. ICE out of LA! And we were there this evening as that standoff continued outside a federal facility in downtown Los Angeles. This is one of the tear gas canisters that was just deployed against couple of hundred people here. And on this side, there are about 100 federal law enforcement, California National Guard. The president bypassing California's governor, authorizing the troop deployment for 60 days late Saturday, saying in a memo the protests constitute a form of rebellion against the United States. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth adding on social media that the administration is also considering mobilizing active duty Marines if the clashes continue, an idea the president did not rule out late today.
What is the bar for sending Marines?
The bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order.
Local officials blasting the White House in response. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass writing, deploying federalized troops on the heels of these raids is a chaotic escalation. And California Governor Gavin Newsom calling the troop deployment purposefully inflammatory, adding the idea of deploying active duty Marines on U.S. soil is deranged. Today, Trump's allies in Washington defending the president's decision.
Do you have any problem or any concerns about the president sending in the National Guard to a place where local authorities say that they're not needed and could be harmful?
I have no concern about that at all. I think the president did exactly what he needed to do.
President Trump is putting the safety of the communities that are being impacted by these riots and by these protests that have turned violent. And he's putting the safety of our law enforcement officers first.
Lindsay, you can see the intensity of what has happened here in downtown L.A. Police arresting this man. He was walking on stilts. They've taken him down. There are projectiles being thrown. You can hear flashbangs, water, and all over there are these flashbang canisters that have been strewn here on the street. Police continue to try to push the crowd back beyond these federal buildings. Now, a reminder that this is the first time since 1965 that a governor has been bypassed in the deployment of National Guard. That's in the federal building just to my left. So we're seeing something that hasn't happened in quite some time here in downtown Los Angeles, Lindsay.
Still an active situation there, Matt. Thank you. Here in New York City, nearly 24 people were taken into custody. What started as a protest to ICE deportation operations turned into a standoff, with demonstrators coming face to face with NYPD officers. Many were led away in zip ties. Tonight, 9 of the 22 people taken into custody yesterday are facing charges.